Here we are, folks. Here we are, folks. Hello, 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 hello. So we switched from audio to video. Big transformation for this dinosaur. If I didn't have a webmaster in the background watching over my shoulder, you wouldn't be looking at my aged puss at this moment. So I've proved I have hair, and now we're going to do some dramatics, Andy Capp style. We got Sir John Alexander behind one shoulder, Queen Victoria in the other, and I can't even put a hat on straight, crooked as hell as I am, and I'm not even a politician. Anyway, folks, after I fiddled for half an hour with the hat, let's start again. I know that my British contacts at Candor magazine are going to disown me for sure. What is the problem here? Okay, what we want to tell you is the British People's League isn't fooling around. I went out to a social event, Robbie Burns night, the other night. And the news media, of course, has smeared me as Jack the Ripper and Attila the Hun and Genghis Khan all in one breath. I was welcomed at this public event at the Royal Canadian Legion, Robbie Burns night, and believe me, it was well received. Myself, Attila the Hun, Jack the Ripper, and the lady escort. Now, why would I bring this up? Okay. If the CBC and the leftist media have smeared me as a monster and lied about me, ran me into the ground for decades, and I'm still here talking to you, then I think we're accepted. I won't get into the professional aspect of some of the people who sat down and had a beer with yours truly, Robbie Burns night, but it was a litmus test. Someone has to speak up for white people in Canada. And of course, anytime you do, you're called a racist. Well, I ain't no racist. In my day job, I deal with all the multi-cults. Doesn't mean I have to like it, but I have to pay the mortgage. Now we've got Sir John Alexander MacDonald on one shoulder and Queen Victoria up on the other. That's our ancestry. Was Queen Victoria cruel? Was her reign cruel? Was John A. MacDonald cruel when he had Louis Riel hung? I see Louis Riel as being built as the second coming of Jesus Christ and Martin Luther King. They're competing for the title. Louis Riel ordered the execution of a Canadian citizen named Thomas Scott. Riel was hung for ordering the murder of a Canadian citizen. We can all have our martyrs, whether you're black, blue, purple, yellow, or orange. Louis Riel was hung for ordering the execution of Thomas Scott. Look up Thomas Scott in Google, Dr. Google. John Alexander MacDonald set this country up as a country for white people. He's called a racist, he's called a drunk, etc. You try and build a country. You try and unite a country as wide and far as Canada. And then on the opposite side of the ocean, of course, Mother Britannia being squeezed out by the Muslim invasion. And here's the point to slip in. I want to thank Candor magazine, a bit of a grin here, for putting up with my moans and groans when I heard we were going to try doing a video. I'm a dinosaur on technicalities. It's a good thing there's a switch on that lamp back there, or I'd never get the light on. So here we are. Candor magazine has to be thanked, and their webpage, Candor, CANDOUR.org.uk. Candor.org.uk. Now, the other party in this legal situation here, I say the word legal because if I breathe too loud, Beattie the monster. So the other party to all of this is a good web manager in Western Ontario. We have a plug for the web manager on our BritishPeoplesLeague.com homepage, and anyone would like an expert at web work, give us a contact. You can contact us at britishcanada@gmail.com. britishcanada@gmail.com. And actually, I know a couple of people who are in the web programming business, so keep that in mind if you're doing your own web page business, self-employment. Boy, I'm squinting here without the glasses on, folks. Not far into it at all. What's the purpose? Well, I don't know how to say it without sounding dramatic, but we are being invaded. Now, everybody in small white villages know that. No one likes to talk about it until they've had a couple of drinks, whether it's the curling club, the Legion Hall, wherever. One-on-one, people talk about it. It's not hatred. It's just about where's our history. You know, German Canadians and French Canadians, British Canadians, where are we supposed to go? There, you know, we've got to speak for our culture, our heritage. So that's what the British People's League is about. Why say the word British in Canada? Well, I got news for you. If you want to check the phone books in any small village in Ontario, now Ontario has over 9 million people, let's knock off the cities. Let's look at the village phone books. Thompson, Cooper, Smith, Jones, you name it. They're still British Canadian names. Do they know their British Canadian roots? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Robbie Burns' night the other night was packed, so somebody still cares. So why should I be upset about it? Why should the British People's League be upset about it? Well, somebody has to talk about their history. I've got a real corny analogy, somewhat crude, on the homepage right now. There's Paul Revere. You know, it's his job in history to warn that the British, we are coming. We're coming. So, you know, Paul's getting ready to run out and, you know, saddle up the horse and get the warning out. The British are coming. So Martha, we'll say his wife's name was Martha. What the hell do I know? Let's just say her name was Martha. So Paul's getting ready to head up for the horse. Martha grabs him by the private parts. Paul, you stay here with me tonight. We'll have some more fun. Let George down the street do it. Let George down the street warn that the British are coming. As Paul runs out the door, looks back over his shoulder, yells back at her, Martha, there ain't no George down the friggin' street. Well, that's the case here. I made a lot of stupid mistakes as a young person in the political arena. I was misled. That is also on Wikipedia. The organization that misled me had to go defunct. Defunct, kaput, finito. You can read about it on Wikipedia. I'll give you this little bit of a clue. One group of this ethnic, you could use your imagination, group association were floored when they heard that I was led by, I can say it, the Canadian Jewish Congress led me around with their agents. They needed a Nazi gang, a fascist-looking party organization to get the hate law passed in Canada. Well, there was no Nazi party. There was no fascist party. There was me getting free beer. I had a beer problem. Free beer, say anything, CBC News, Toronto Star, headlines. They scared the Jewish community in Canada into thinking there was a fascist party. What? Me and my beer and my big mouth. So what's my point bringing it up these years later? Because that's the smear they use on me now to stop people from associating with me. So the bottom line, the debate went back and forth. Is Beattie making this all up? He's just looking for an excuse, and I was a young idiot. Okay, fine and dandy. Set up wasn't the word. The guy that drove me around was working as an employee of the Canadian Jewish Congress. Maclean's magazine exposed it. John Charles Garrity. Bottom line, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, a gal with the Winnipeg Jewish Press contacted me. She was very polite. And she said that she wanted to do a story on all that past business that got the hate law into Canada. I said, sure. There's nothing to hide. So I emailed her, and she emailed back and forth with a few questions, detailed questions. And she wrote it up. She was shocked. She checked it out. She found out it was true. The bombshell was, you know, we're all rat packs to a degree. For some reason, I kept this rent check from the 1970s when I was admitted to the University of Toronto as a mature student, full time. So I lived in the annex of Toronto. A lot of people know the annex. I kept my rent check. My best friend in life, the old guy, passed away in the 70s, was Henrik Vanderwint, an old Dutchman. Quite the rooming house, quite the debating house. Jewish gal downstairs, colored guy on the top, and there's Beattie in the middle. It was wild. The rules were debating in the kitchen. We could scream and yell at each other, but no hitting. Okay, so Vanderwint, he gave his receipts out. My rent check was the receipt. $12 rent check. So the gal with the Winnipeg Jewish Press, I can't even remember her name, Sabina or something, she said, do I still have that rent check? Now, we're talking 1974, 75. And I said, you know what? I think I do, because I like to keep personal mementos. I love that old guy. A philosopher plus. We had many debates. It reminded me of the old cartoon in the Toronto Star years ago, Major Hoople's boarding house. I had the check. It was made out, and I put in the memo section at the time, room rent. Now, if Vanderwin's building was a fascist headquarters, why would we be renting out rooms to a colored guy and a Jewish gal and Beattie in the middle? It was all hysteria in the news media, and Vanderwin was partly responsible. His wife passed away before her time, and he was bored. He was bored as hell. I think the both of us are a pair of crazy anarchists who like beer. We could phone up the Toronto Press, say anything, and it would be a headline the next day. Pierre Trudeau was going to get out of his limousine and greet some school kids. In my stomping ground, Allen Gardens, where I got my head bashed a couple of times. So I phoned up CFRB, Vanderwin's roaring of laughter in the background. I said, well, if Pierre Trudeau gets out of that limousine and speaks without a permit, I will be there and I will arrest the Prime Minister for speaking without a permit. If I have to get a permit in Allen Gardens, so did Pierre. So that evening, 6 o'clock news, it said, and I feel sorry for the school children. Not really, because they weren't contaminated by Pierre. But the 6 o'clock news said that Pierre Trudeau was scheduled to speak to some school children in Allen Gardens today. They were most disappointed. His limousine kept right on going through the park, and he did not get out of the limousine. Okay, that wasn't printed that Beattie was behind that, but they listened to me, the press. But other headlines, I could phone up and say, yeah, Beattie here. We're going to blitzkrieg City Hall with leaflets. Blitzkrieg, blitzkrieg. Oh, Nazi term. Oh. So I go down to the City Hall, sit on a bench amongst the winos. And sure enough, the press would all be there, printing every word I said. What, a 21-year-old kid, and they're printing all this stuff. Why? To get a hate law. They had to scare the Jewish citizens of Canada. They scared them all right. The hate law was passed. Pierre Trudeau passed the hate law, the Cohen Commission. What, over one guy? Yes, one guy. So the Winnipeg gal, she researched it all. She researched it. Then she got in touch with Ezra Levant with the Toronto Sun. He's a conservative Jewish guy. He phoned me up. He couldn't believe it. Oh, he just could not believe it. Checked it out. All true. I had their rent receipt. I mailed the copy of the check to, I think her name's Sabrina. I could be wrong. The Winnipeg Press there. Well, guess what? And I'm soon getting the end of the story. I don't like my first video to talk about my stupid past, but let's get it out of the way, and then my bi-weekly videos can talk about current events. For white people. I said that horrible word, white. So anyway, the Jerusalem Post picked the story up, the biggest Jewish paper on the planet, and they reprinted the whole story. Within 3 months of that printing, the Canadian Jewish Congress died. The Canadian Jewish Congress died. How sad. Check it up on Wikipedia. Click in Canadian Jewish Congress on Google, and it's transformed into, I wish I knew the word, mortification, whatever the hell. It's transformed into another organization. They couldn't keep the name Canadian Jewish Congress. I mean, can you imagine you're a hard-working Jew on Eglinton Avenue running a, I don't know, a deli or some damn thing, and here you read about fascists and Nazis, and then you find out that your own people created the boogeyman to fleece you into buying more Israel bonds. I said that in the Harry Brown CBC radio show one time. I said, Harry, I was the best Israel bond salesman they ever had. What do you mean, John? You know, you were in the park screaming. Well, who led me to the park? Who suggested the park? The Toronto Star reporter. It was all news media. I'm not saying I was super clean. I should have been a smart enough guy, but I love free beer. So they paid for the beer. Finally smartened up. I went back to university, and then But then I sat back from the university days knowing that because of my stupidity as a young person, that, you know, I pretty well couldn't comment on anything because my horrible past would be brought up. So that Jerusalem Post story cleared the path for me. And the Canadian Jewish Congress nicely being buried. It left the opening now that I feel clean enough that I can comment, at least for British Canadians and European Canadians in Canada. Now, I want to end this first video. We don't want it to go too long. Thank you for listening, and we are going to be back at you February 11th. We're going to do this every 2 weeks bi-weekly. Okay, folks, thank you very much for clicking in, and we'll talk at you next time, maybe in a more cheerful note.